So picture the most magnificent, just impossibly massive skyscraper you could possibly imagine.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, we are talking billions of floors. Like, it stretches up so high, the top completely disappears into the clouds, and it goes down so deep it literally touches the planet's core.
Right. A massive structure.
Exactly. But now imagine walking into this architectural marvel and you realize it is completely, utterly empty.
Wait, really? Nobody at all?
Not a single soul anywhere. I mean, the heating is humming away, the lights are buzzing overhead, the elevators are just cycling up and down, but nobody is home.
That is a kind of creepy image, honestly.
Right. But in the context of today's deep dive, that empty building, despite all its insane complexity, is entirely worthless. It has absolutely no reason to exist unless it is occupied by a massive, chaotic, and strictly organized tenant list.
I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, and we aren't just talking about human tenants. This list includes everything from, like, the microscopic bacteria living on your skin right now to the rocks buried out in the yard, all the way up the chain to goblins, celestials, and gods.
It is a really striking visual, and, you know, it serves as the exact premise of the universe we are exploring today.
Hmm.
We're looking at a highly specific, intricately detailed cosmology laid out by an author named Xu Feng.
Right.
Specifically, we're drawing from a 2020 piece titled Prologue and a 2005 text called The Meaning of Life. It's basically a framework that attempts to explain the entire mechanism of existence.
From the lowest microbe to the highest divine entity.
Exactly.
And before we really unpack the mechanics of this, we need to set a quick ground rule for you, the listener.
Good call.
Yeah, we are acting as your impartial guides on this deep dive. I mean, we are not sitting here endorsing the spiritual framework as objective scientific fact, nor are we, presenting it as a religious truth that you need to adopt.
Right, we're not preaching here.
Exactly. Our mission today is simply to walk through the fascinating clockwork-like worldview the author has constructed because, well, the internal logic and the sheer scale of the mechanics he describes are genuinely mind-bending.
That framing is crucial, yeah,
Yeah.
because we are basically looking at the architecture of an idea. And to understand the architecture of Shuifeng's universe, you first have to grasp how he completely redefines the concept of what it means to be alive.
Okay, lay it out for us.
Well, he separates the biological from the spiritual entirely.
Yeah.
In this text, life is not just biology. It's not just, cells dividing, metabolizing energy, reproducing. Schuffing defines life, and he actually often capitalizes the word to emphasize this point as a non-material structure with spirituality at its very essence.
Okay, I am going to need to hit the pause button right there because I'm stuck on the implications of that definition.
Sure.
If life is a non-material structure with spirituality at its essence, that means the tenant list in our giant cosmic building is wild.
Oh, it is.
I mean, the author explicitly includes microbes, insects, ghosts, monsters, Buddhas, devils, and saints. But he also says life exists in fire, in frozen worlds, in the deep blue sea, and even in stones.
Yes. Stones are considered life in this framework.
And that's what gets me. Like, a dog having a spirit makes sense to me because a dog breathes, it moves, it reacts. But fire, a stone doesn't grow or reproduce. How does the text justify a seemingly inanimate rock having a spiritual entity?
So to answer that, we have to look at how Sweffing separates the vehicle from the passenger.
Yeah.
He divides tangible life into two distinct components, right? The physical body and the spiritual entity.
Okay.
He uses a very grounded analogy to explain this. Think of a running car. The car itself is the physical body. It has a shape, it takes up physical space, it requires fuel, and it eventually breaks down.
Right.
But the person driving the car,
Right.
that represents the spiritual entity.
Yeah.
The physical body carries the spiritual entity, but the spiritual entity is the master of the physical body. So regarding your question about the stone, Zhuifeng's premise is that all physical matter in the universe is merely a carrier for a spiritual structure.
Okay, so if I am tracking with this, a rock isn't just dead matter. It is essentially extremely rigid hardware running a very, very quiet operating system.
That hardware and software analogy maps perfectly, actually,
Right.
because that's exactly how the author describes the underlying rules of creation. Shuifeng writes that all lives were created and that their programs were set.
Programs, like actual computer code.
Pretty much. All of their physical manifestations operate strictly according to those underlying programs. The spiritual essence is the software. The physical form, whether that is a human body, a blade of grass, or like you said, a chunk of granite, is just the hardware.
Wow. So the rock has a set program, but its spiritual entity is heavily constrained by its specific physical casing.
Exactly.
It's like the software is trapped in a very limited car. A rock's program basically just tells it to sit there and maintain its molecular structure, while a human's program is vastly more complex.
And this naturally brings us to how all these different programs and physical cars are organized.
Right, because a universe filled with everything from sentient stones to celestial beings could easily devolve into pure, unmanageable chaos.
Oh, absolutely. But in Swething's text, the universe is anything but chaotic. It is rigidly hierarchical.
Yeah, the author categorizes all life into low-level, intermediate-level, and high-level tiers.
And guess where we are?
Smack in the middle. We humans are classified as intermediate, tangible lives. We are above the plants, animals, and microbes, but we are below Buddhas, devils, goblins, and the entity he refers to as the greatest creator.
Right.
But as I was reading through this, I noticed this fascinating sort of inverse math going on in the author's universe regarding power and visibility.
Oh, the inverse math. Walk us through what you mean by that.
Well, according to the text, the lower the level of life, the greater the quantity of it, and the more tangible it is.
Oh.
Think about bacteria, right? There are billions and billions of them. They are intensely physical, and they are right there under a microscope.
They're heavy in a material sense.
Exactly. But as you move higher up the tiers of life, the text says the quantity decreases, the energy increases, and the life form becomes significantly less visible. Tangible lives are uneasy to change, but intangible ones can change at will.
Yes.
So my question is, why does ultimate power in this framework equate to invisibility? I mean, why wouldn't a godlike entity want a massive, indestructible physical form to, flex that power?
To understand that, we really have to look at the physics of energy within this specific spiritual framework. Think back to the car and the driver concept.
Okay, the hardware and software.
Right. A physical body, a tangible form, is actually incredibly heavy in a cosmic sense. It is bound by gravity, by temperature, by the physical laws of the mortal world.
Oh, I see. It requires constant maintenance.
Exactly. Feeding, protection, shelter. Great spiritual energy does not want or need to be weighed down by a heavy, tangible vehicle just to exist. As the text explicitly notes, tangible lives are uneasy to change.
Meaning, if you have a physical body, you are basically stuck with it.
You are. You're locked into a single dimension of experience until that body wears out. But intangible lives, beings composed of pure, high-level spiritual energy, they bypass those physical laws entirely.
Wow.
They can traverse dimensions and change form at will. In this cosmology, invisibility is not a lack of physical presence. It is the ultimate freedom from limitation.
That makes so much sense. Having a physical body is actually a massive cosmic handicap.
It really is.
It's like trying to navigate the modern internet while physically dragging a 1980s mainframe computer around your waist. Whereas the higher level beings are just operating seamlessly on the cloud, they have all the processing power without any of the physical burden.
That cloud computing concept illustrates the gap between the tiers perfectly. And because humans are stuck right in the middle tier, we have physical bodies, we are heavily tangible. We're subject to the rigid rules of form and structure.
Which introduces a pretty critical mechanical question, right?
How do these various forms of life actually enter and exit the physical world?
Yes. Because the birth and death mechanics in this universe are incredibly intricate. The text lays out 4 distinct categories of birth. There's eggs, wombs, changes of humidity, and transformation or separation.
It mirrors a very classical, almost ancient philosophical way of categorizing generation. But Swething applies his concept of spiritual physics to it.
Right.
He details the mechanisms of how these births occur. For instance, he notes that lives born from eggs and wombs can reproduce naturally as long as the surrounding environment like temperature and humidity remains appropriate.
Okay, but then there are the lives born from humidity or transformation.
Right.
The text uses examples like plants or even the parasitic lice on human bodies. It says they come out automatically in large numbers based purely on environmental triggers.
Yes, very specific conditions.
And here is the mechanism that really caught my attention. When the environment changes, those specific life forms just go extinct. They perish thoroughly. There is a massive structural difference in how death works for those lower categories compared to humans.
The mechanism of permanence, or, the lack thereof, is a huge part of this cosmology. When the text says that lives born from humidity or transformation perishes completely upon death, it literally means the hardware breaks and the software is entirely deleted.
Oh, wow. So there is no continuing spiritual journey for them.
None at all.
Yeah.
But for lives born from wombs or eggs, particularly humans, the mechanics shift entirely. The text argues that humans never truly die.
Right. The text claims that for humans, death only means the physical carrier, the car we've been talking about, has fulfilled its mission and returned to dust.
Yes.
The spiritual entity, the driver, always survives the crash and leaves the body to move on to its next journey.
Always.
So to use a video game concept, the humidity-born lives are playing on permadeath.
Permadeath, yeah.
Once their environment shifts and they die, it is game over. The save file is wiped entirely. But humans and animals have a respawn mechanic.
I love that analogy. It is absolutely a respawn mechanic, but with staggering implications, because where and how you respawn is entirely up for grabs based on your performance.
Okay, explain that.
Well, after the human body returns to dust, the text states that the real life, the spiritual entity, will either ascend to heaven, return to the mortal world, reincarnate downward as an animal or livestock, or fall straight into hell.
And that brings up a rule regarding death that feels incredibly high stakes. The final consciousness checkpoint.
Ah, yes, the checkpoint.
The text explicitly states that once born into this mortal world, humans change every day. But what you eventually change into depends almost entirely on the state of your immediate pre-death consciousness.
Xu Feng's parameters on this are uncompromising.
Very.
He writes, and I'll just quote the text here, "If one possesses a celestial's consciousness at that moment, then they will go to the fairyland world. A human consciousness, they will return to the human world, and an animal's consciousness, they will fall to the animal world."
Which means your entire cosmic destiny rests on a microscopic fraction of a second.
It really does.
I mean, imagine you have lived a generally decent life, right? You're a good person, you pay your taxes, but you suffer a sudden heart attack while you are absolutely furious at someone who just cut you off in traffic.
Oh, no.
Your immediate pre-death consciousness is consumed by pure, reactive, animalistic rage. Does that mean you respawn as a dog? Under this rule, human existence feels like you are constantly walking a tightrope while juggling chainsaws.
Yeah, the text certainly does not shy away from the harsh reality of that mechanism. Xu Feng explicitly writes, "Human lives are not easy to attain, and their survival is hard."
Hard is an understatement.
Seriously. He warns that by being careless with one's consciousness, human life structures degrade to those of animals, like dogs and pigs. But conversely, by being incredibly careful in cultivating that consciousness, those same structures can elevate to goblins, spirits, celestials, or Buddhas.
So the responsibility falls entirely on the individual's spiritual upkeep. Okay, but if we are caught in this high-stakes loop where a single moment of anger might cause us to respawn as a pig, it really begs the question, what is the point of the system itself?
The grand purpose.
Right. Why is the universe running this massive, risky simulation? We have the giant skyscraper, we have the rules for the tenants moving up and down the floors, but who benefits from us leveling up?
So to answer the why behind the universe, we have to look closely at the second text, the meaning of life. Xu Feng brings back the building analogy you introduced at the very beginning.
Yeah.
He argues that the universe exists for life, and life exists for the universe. If there were no life activities, no spiritual entities occupying physical forms, none of the planets, galaxies, or the universe itself would have ever come into being.
Oh, interesting.
The physical universe is merely the stage built specifically for the spiritual entities to perform on.
It's a completely symbiotic relationship. The building needs the tenants just as much as the tenants need the building.
They are totally inseparable. But this relationship operates on a very strict ladder of service. Xu Feng argues that the meaning of life, in a narrow sense, is defined entirely by what you serve.
And when you look at the progression he lays out, microbes serving vegetation, insects serving animals, animals serving people, it reads less like a grand cosmology and more like a spiritual food chain.
The food chain, yeah.
I mean, the progression continues upward, right?
Yeah.
People serve celestial beings serve the gods, and the gods serve the greatest creator. On paper, it looks somewhat like a cosmic pyramid scheme where all the wealth, all the energy, and all the service flow relentlessly upward to the entity at the very top.
It does look like that initially.
But wait, how does a microbe actually serve an insect in this spiritual framework? Is it just the biological reality of being eaten, or is there a deeper mechanism at play?
It is much deeper than just biological consumption. In Xu Feng's framework, Service is infrastructural.
Infrastructural.
Yeah. The lower levels provide the base energetic and physical conditions that allow the higher levels to manifest and experience reality.
Oh, I see.
A microbe serves vegetation by breaking down the physical matter necessary for the plant's hardware to grow. The plant serves the animal by providing the energy required for the animal's spiritual entity to operate its more complex body.
So it is an upward flow of vital support.
Exactly.
Yay.
However, your point about it looking like a pyramid scheme is exactly where Shuofeng introduces the crucial pivot of his entire philosophy.
Ah, the massive plot twist at the top of the ladder.
Yes. The mechanism does not end with the greatest creator simply absorbing all this upward-flowing energy. The meaning of the greatest creator is not to sit on a throne at the penthouse of the skyscraper, just receiving endless service from billions of lower-tier lives.
Right.
The text states very clearly, the meaning of the greatest creator is to serve all life forms.
So it's not a pyramid, it's a massive engine.
It is a self-sustaining engine of mutual service. All in all, the meaning of life is to serve the greatest creator by fulfilling your specific program.
Right.
And the meaning of the greatest creator is to serve all life forms in the universe by providing the spaces, the physical laws, and the ongoing energy necessary for them to exist. It is a completely closed-loop cosmology.
That's fascinating. So the energy flows up through the tiers of life, and the foundational support flows down from the creator, sustaining the existence of the universe itself.
Precisely.
Okay, if we step back and look at the whole board, the hardware and software, the invisible higher tiers operating on the cloud, the high-stakes respawn mechanics, and this giant engine of cosmic service, what are we supposed to do with this information?
Practical application.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the actual takeaway for you, the listener, who is just trying to go about your day, heading to work, or making dinner?
According to Shuofeng's text, the takeaway is a radical reevaluation of your daily priorities. If you are spending your life endlessly pursuing money, power, status, reputation, and beauty, you are playing the wrong game entirely. Shuofeng writes that people who prioritize those mortal, tangible things cannot unseal their spiritual perception and will remain ignorant and confused forever.
Basically, obsessing over wealth and status is like spending all your time polishing the paint job on the car while you are actively driving toward a cliff. You are prioritizing the hardware that is guaranteed to turn to dust while completely ignoring the software that determines your next destination.
That analogy captures the author's warning perfectly. The ultimate human priority, according to this framework, must be the study and exploration of life's mysteries. Only by unsealing your spiritual perception can you prepare your consciousness to transcend to a higher, less tangible space.
And the text actually leaves the reader with a bit of a cliffhanger on how to do that, mentioning that there are 8 mysteries of life that true seekers need to actively explore.
Yeah, the 8 mysteries.
Which is incredible because he doesn't even list the 8 mysteries.
No, he doesn't.
He just drops that concept in the text to keep you searching. It is a brilliant hook for anyone who considers themselves a spiritual seeker. But as we wrap up this deep dive, there is one provocative thought I just cannot shake, and it builds right off that terrifying rule about your consciousness at the exact moment of death.
Ah, the final checkpoint before you respawn.
Yeah. The text claims that your exact state of consciousness in the fraction of a second before death dictates your entire cosmic future, whether you become a celestial being on the cloud or a pig in the mud.
Right.
But here is the reality of human psychology. You cannot fake a lifetime of consciousness in 1 second.
No, you really can't.
If your mind is chaotic, greedy, or fundamentally angry your whole life, you cannot suddenly manufacture a state of pure, detached celestial peace while you are having a sudden heart attack.
To achieve that peace in a moment of crisis requires an incredibly ingrained default state.
Exactly, which means you can't cram for the final exam.
No cramming.
So, how does the mundane way you spend your random Tuesday mornings actually shape that split-second final thought? When you are standing in a long line for coffee, or when you are drafting a response to a deeply frustrating email, are you, in a way, actively rehearsing your cosmic destiny every single day?
That's a heavy thought.
If this cosmology holds any philosophical weight for you, then there are absolutely no throwaway moments. Every single thought, every minor frustration you overcome is practice for that final fraction of a second.
That shifts the perspective entirely. It takes the most mundane, repetitive parts of human existence and makes them deeply consequential. It suggests that spiritual elevation isn't about grand gestures. It is about the quiet, constant curation of your internal state.
It really does reframe everything. So the next time you find yourself getting furious at someone in traffic or stressing over something superficial, just remember the immense, invisible skyscraper we are all supposedly standing inside. Take a breath, check your spiritual software, and maybe don't risk the respawn. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the mechanics of the world, keep exploring multiple perspectives, and we will catch you next time.